Matthew chapter 22, verses 1 to 14. It's the parable, Jesus' parable of the marriage feast. Now it's Tuesday of the week of the crucifixion, and Jesus is debating the chief priests and the elders in the court of the temple. He tells them a series of parables, and the one that I'm looking at here is of the king, who is God, who invites guests to his son's marriage feast, but they refuse to come, even killing his servants. And they perish as a result, and their city is razed to the ground. Now verse 8 says this: Then saith he, that is to say the king, to his servants, The wedding is ready, but they who were bidden were not worthy. Now, something surprised me in this verse. It was a mild surprise to me, but the more I thought about it, the more of a blessing it became to me. And it's this: the king, who is God, says that they failed to take up his invitation because, quote, they were not worthy. Now, if I had invited people to a gathering and they ignored the invitation, although I would obviously think it was rude that they didn't respond, I'd probably begin to question myself that I wasn't considered worthy for some reason of them coming to the event that I'd arranged. And that's because, like all human beings, I've got a history of sin and failure that has damaged my psyche in some way. But not so God, of course. He straight away says, they are not worthy. It must be so wonderful to be so healthy that you value others' love and friendship, but you don't rely on it. You're never smitten with a crisis of confidence when you're rejected. Of course, only God can really be like this, because we are subject to sin and failure, and we should sometimes question ourselves. But God is different. It's called holy strength. Now, he said that they weren't worthy to come. Have you ever thought that when you received Jesus' gift of forgiveness and eternal life, that you were also valuing yourself? Humility is good, but if it keeps us from Jesus, it's really inverted pride. If there is anyone listening to this who hasn't yet received Jesus' gifts of forgiveness and eternal life, start seeing yourself through God's eyes. He loves you, and he gave his Son in order to have you with him in eternity. God may not need you. He doesn't need you. He doesn't need any of us. But he is not happy when anyone's sense of their unworthiness prevents them from receiving Jesus and being saved. We'll look further at this parable tomorrow, God willing.